Live video is starting. Hey friends, I feel like $1,000,000. I just got out of the gym and the sun is just pouring in the windows here. It's just liquid gold. And thank you for being here. I'm gonna share some frameworks here today, some freedom frameworks, and share some of my excitement for what's been happening in my world and in my ecosystem. If you're new to me, my name's Gabriel Kazan, and I'm a dad and entrepreneur and author and therapist coach. And the reason you're here is because maybe you're looking for a change. You're looking for an opportunity and you want to tune in to some freedom frameworks that have been getting massive results in my own life personally and in the lives of my clients. I work generally with men, but my wife and I have just partnered on a new opportunity where we can mentor people that don't have to be men and women. And I'm going to tell you more about that today on this live. But really, I just wanted to start with uh, sharing some stories. And it's been a crazy last 5 years, and I'm just thrilled to be where I am right now because there's big things on the horizon, and uh, most of the men who work with me are coming at me when they are stuck, when they are looking at the relationship, the marriage that they're in, that is not working. And they are, for whatever reason, um, stuck. And so I'm going to be entering the conversation because this is a conversation about primarily men, but there's a couple of drivers that I want to acknowledge. There's three core drivers. Hey, Festus, good to see you here. Thanks for the comments. Three core drivers that human beings are driven by. And the first one is cash. The first one is cash money. The second one is time freedom. And those two are obviously interconnected. Money or time is money in anybody's business. And yet, there's so much more to it than that. And then the third thing that concerns everybody is health. And how do I optimize? How do I feel good? But usually the third one is like a nice to have. And the real drivers that keep humans on the merry-go-round or in the hamster wheel are money and time. So those are really the pain points I want to speak into because so often when I get into the conversation of men and pain and possibility, usually the biggest excuses that come up are the limiting beliefs around money and the pit of pain that comes from where those limiting beliefs lead us. Maybe maybe all beliefs are limiting. Maybe all beliefs are limiting. Um, but the funny thing is, um, you don't know what you don't know until you realize something new. And I'll take you way back a little into my story just to um, share how stuck I was a number of years ago in a job that I hated that had no future to it. And I was trading my time for money. And I remember I was a casual employee, and my coworker and I would, week to week, we'd always have this ongoing conversation because we were both casuals. And that means we could pick up shift work or say no to shift work, and fill in the blanks for the company on the calendar. And we'd always say, well, what do you need more? Time this week or money? And so that was our little conversation. Oh, I just need time. I've just stretched this week. I need to be with the family, and I got stuff to take care of. So you either choose one or the other. And uh, and then sometimes it was like, nope, actually the bills are stacking up, or for whatever reason, I'm going to choose more work and sacrifice my time so that I can cover my bills or, do that thing that I need to do. And these days, the weapon of inflation is so profound. And if you haven't invested in yourself, your greatest asset, and your financial literacy in your money game, then look out, because there's a crushing reality coming in that I see as a splitting, and a splitting of the population, of the people who are uh, open and willing to take action. Um, because what I'm learning this far into my investment journey, and I've paid mentors money I didn't even have because I wanted to raise my ceiling and open my mind and put myself in relationship with people who could help me transform my life. What I've learned is that money is just a game. Money is a game at the investor level. At the investment level, even debt, which can feel crippling and crazy making, even that's just a game. When you look at people who've pulled the lever of bankruptcy and not been ashamed of that, but just went with it and reset and restarted their financial reality, it really all just starts to come back to this one question, which is, what do I want? Just like I was talking to my coworker, and we were saying, well, what do you want this week? What do you want? And we'd hash it out. But that's, I'd say, the $1 million question. The $1 million question that I ask my clients, my one-on-one clients every week that I get to communicate with them is, what do you want? And we come back to that because it can be a very confronting question. Most of us, myself included, when we're asked, what do you want? The funny thing is, most of us will default to laying out a laundry list of the 10 things that we know we don't want. But do you see how that sidestepped the question? Do you see how the negative mind came in and said, well, I know what I don't want? Like, because on a nervous system level, it's way easier to orient to the pain and to the negative than to find that fulcrum, that lever of the neutral mind, and to actually give yourself permission to sink into your heart and soul and say, no, what do I want? Like, if I could have it my way, maybe I wouldn't be selling my time for money. Maybe I'd find a different way. Um, So we get into the game, and we get into the game. And the game that I work and gamify with my clients is made up of four kingdoms. And we pay ourselves every day in those four kingdoms. I'm just going to lay this out. This is a framework from the Warrior app, from the Warrior movement, which my clients get access to as an option. And basically, there's four core domains. Body, just coming home to this, your sovereignty in your physicality. Being, my spiritual connection with God, that daily practice that keeps me connected to that prayer for life that I am inside of, that I am taking action in. The third one is balance. And balance refers to relationships, usually romantic relationships. That's my biggest training and certainty, is that I help couples go from fighting to fucking, and or being on the brink of divorce, and or unhappy in the marriage with a dead bedroom, to being on fire with passion and love. And it starts with the man. And that's my approach. And that's why I actually left the field of therapy, because it became fragile. It became too fragile, walking around on eggshells on people's trauma. And don't get me wrong, it's there, and there's a lot of hurt people that need deep work, and a lot of deep work can happen if you find a good therapist um, who's actually called into the field with a level of depth. But part of the reason I left that game is because of this loss of accountability and responsibility for being real. And being real in this context means the definition and understanding of what a man is. That's why men's groups have begun to flourish. Uh, and this movement of men doing this inner work is now the time. It's time for this uh, because men have to get better at being the man in this context of this moment. That's what I really see happening. And that's what I had to confront. And I've been married 14 years, and I'm proud of that. And before that, I was in a relationship that ended in divorce, and I didn't choose that divorce. She did. And I learned a huge lesson, what my friend Michael called the PhD in relationships. When you go through that divorce, you go through that soul crushing initiation. Um, what you get is a reflection through the mirror of that, the sacred mirror of that relationship, the view of your own lies, the view of the truth of how you put yourself there. At least that's what I got because I started and launched into a series of 4 years worth of vision fasting um, and vision questing to really get to the root of what went wrong. What did I do to set up that big lesson? Um, so inside of that lesson, I realized that I was living like a nice guy, and everything I was trying to do was trying to please her. It was like that saying, "Happy wife, happy life." And the truth is that actually makes a man untrustworthy if he's not anchored in his purpose and committed to living that purpose fully and making it work, finding a way. Um, so that's why in 2022, uh, the book that became an Amazon bestseller that I wrote, I titled it "Alive on Purpose" because that's really the core thesis of my um, work, and my coaching program is called Alive on Purpose Coaching. I'm going to come back to that word coaching and distinguish it from mentoring in a minute. But I realize I'm only on step 3 out of 4. So there's there's body, there's being, there's balance, the relationship stuff, and then there's business. And that's your business, that's your literal bank account and the literal cash flow situation of your life. Uh, So I want to back up here for a moment before we go into talking about money and cash flow, because I did start saying at the beginning that those were the 3 main drivers: money, time, and health, that human beings are going to be driven by. Um, and and there's a huge amount of shadow and projection and fear around the scarcity program and the poverty consciousness that is very ubiquitous across the collective. So, uh, you know, just coming around to poking on the pain of people's money stories is enough. That's enough uh, to poke that pain without actually having a solution. And that's why I'm thrilled to be able to have a business opportunity for my clients now that I never had before. I mostly just worked as a personal coach. And funnily enough, the personal coaching would often unlock um, business success. I had one client who, through the work we did in personal coaching, he started to unlock $20,000 a month um, revenues in business as a digital marketer, and he'd never done that before. And he sent me this big thank you because of that celebration of realizing that level of prosperity. And now that same client, former client, is managing a seven-figure digital marketing business and has a team on payroll. Whereas before that, he was a fitness trainer going through a breakup, and didn't even have a foot in the game of digital marketing. So, with the right focus, um, transformation is possible, but it takes commitment and it takes decision making. So that's the game, though, that will change the game is this four kingdoms of body, being, balance, and business, and gamifying that and hitting the self work every day to pay yourself every day in action in each of those four domains. Whether that's, hitting the gym, or whatever it looks like for you, whether you're a runner or a biker or you do martial arts, or it doesn't matter to me, but you got to stay active and you got to move your body because the body is where the issues are. The issues are in the tissues. We want to talk about belief systems. It's all of the unconscious programming is in the body. And that's why allowing the body to become stagnant is one of the biggest liabilities you can have. And so movement's going to get you unstuck. And that's why I'm such an advocate now at 47 of hitting the gym daily, moving the heart rate, getting a sweat on, and actually lifting weights. There's a whole science right now out there around the muscles, and the tissue and the chemical cocktail that gets released when you hit up heavy lifting. I fall in love with the smell of steel on my hands after using the barbell because it's so good for my whole being, my mood, helps me stabilize my emotions and come back into my own center so that I can be the parent that I want to be, so that I can show up for the relationship with ease and grace. And so I also want to talk a bit about the systemic sedation of men. I just got off of a podcast interview a couple days ago, and we went deep into this, and it just felt like there's a lot of energy inside of this part of the conversation with men because I only work with men who have a big future. They know they have a big future and they want to get to it because what happens inside of the work is transformational leadership. That's really the name of the game. If I were to give it a name, it's how do I lead? How do I lead myself around those core four areas: body, being, balance, and business every day, and begin to balance them all. We can also use them as a diagnostic tool because you know it sometimes will start to win in one area or another because we've put a lot of focus into that. Maybe it's business. Maybe business and money is no problem. But in order to get there, what you sacrificed was your health. Or maybe in order to get there, what you sacrificed was your relationship and things between you and your wife are not good. Or maybe you're single and you haven't even made space for the relationship at all because you've been so focused on getting results in one area or another. Well, that's why we use the core four kingdoms as a diagnostic tool to say, okay, where are you weak? Where is the weakness in your frame? Is it in your body? Is it in your bank account? Is it in your being and your mindset and your connection to God, the connection to prosperity, your connection to belief in self? Or is it in your how you're showing up communicating as a husband and as a father? So all of those four domains get alchemized inside of a 30 to 40-day challenge that my clients get access to that is life changing. And the core of the challenge uh, guides men through a journey of asking, who am I? What do I want? How do I make decisions so that I can let go of the lies that are holding me back and step into the truth? The real code inside of that challenge is simply telling the truth. The truth and the facts of your reality are what sets you free, because those are the things that are giving you the confrontation, the punch to the face that you need to square up to man up to and make some decisions around. And here's some of the big villains that I see. The big villains that I see right now inside of this conversation are indecision. Indecision is like a cancer. When you know you have decisions to make, but you keep putting them off, that's what's going to keep you stuck and playing small and living by someone else's rules, someone else's terms. There's really only two ways to be. One is as the cause, where you're taking 100% radical responsibility for your life. That's being at cause. And then the other side is being at effect, where you're just blowing in the wind of other people's agendas. And that's what's going to keep you on the hamster wheel, feeling like a victim, feeling like you're never going to get anywhere because you're not in your soul force. Let's call it that. That's Gandhi's term for it. Your soul force is your knowing of who you are, knowing of what you want, and making the decision to live life on your own terms, even if it's scary. And that's the biggest thing that holds people back from making the commitment is a fear. And what is the fear? Usually it's just fear of the unknown. And it's fear of humiliation, of looking like a fool, fear of uh, being like homeless, and fear of starvation. Like these are primal fears that hold people back and keep them on the hamster wheel inside of that time and money equation. Let me shift gears here for a minute away from coaching and mentoring towards something I wanted to talk about today, and it's called the blue zones. Maybe you've heard of the blue zones, and um, it's there's been books written about this, and I'm going to start talking about water and vibration. So the blue zones are areas in the world that have been studied because uh, the longevity of the people who live in these zones is way longer. Like the people there have just way better health, and they live um, way longer than people in every other region. And there's pockets of blue zones around the world. Usually they're further from cities. Like I think there's one in Sicily or Greece, or, um, more rural places. So part of the reason for that longevity is the village life and the community and the lifestyle and the pace of life there. But another part of it, and this is where it gets interesting, is the water. The water that people drink in these blue zones has a more rich hydrogen index. It's hydrogen rich water, um, and it's got electrolytes that give people an unfair advantage in terms of health. So that's part of what interested me when I started to learn about Kangen water. Maybe you've heard of Kangen water, um, but that's the business opportunity that my wife and I have partnered with. The company that distributes these water ionizers that take regular tap water um, and electrocute it so that it is hydrogen rich and um, electrolyzed. The company does $1 billion a year. They distribute these machines and they've been distributing them since 1974. So the company's 50 years old. That's how established they are. And the commission structure, this is the business opportunity I'm talking about. The commission structure for distributing these health products is so unique. It's very different than traditional network marketing. Um, but it's so unique that the company literally patented their commission method because it's connected to a long game of wealth sharing and legacy wealth, so that even after you die as a distributor, your family, your kids, your wife will be still receiving downstream commissions from your team sales. Um, so I've never really wanted to get into any type of network marketing thing. And a lot of them just sound like they're selling like low ticket snake oil garbage. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of get rich quick schemes out there. And this isn't that. This isn't that because it is a high ticket investment. It is a just to get started, it's a $4,000 to $5,000 investment in the basic Kangen K8 water machine. And while that sounds like a lot, there's also a financing option for people, especially in Canada. It's available to be able to get into the opportunity as if you're buying a new vehicle and financing it. So you just would make monthly payments, nominal monthly payments from what you can afford. And the upside, the potential upside is that once you're an owner of one of these magical water machines, um, then you can distribute them and you immediately get a distribution number and you get a very generous commission off of sales because maybe your neighbor wants one or someone who you know could use one. And the reasons health wise to get them are off the charts. Like, I'm not really allowed to talk about it in marketing because there's a compliance uh, issue where you're not allowed to make these bold and audacious health claims. However, I do have links to information about how this water has transformed people's lives from health conditions, like pages and pages of health conditions that you could name. And some of the leaders in the company who are seven-figure earners, they're doing that because they themselves transformed their health through uh, drinking the water. And coming back to wealth, what I know is that wealth is a vibration. Wealth is a frequency. It's a frequency of self-worth and a frequency of commitment to kingdom principles. Basically, that's what I would call them. Um, and wealth follows principles. And what I love about water and how the wealth and health equation both get taken care of inside of this opportunity is that we know now, thanks to Dr. Emoto's research, that water is highly influenced by vibration. And so many of the chronic illnesses that people are facing right now can be transformed through vibration. And we are made up, what is it, 70% of our bodies are water. So I'm a bit of a water snob because I live in the mountains and I've lived in the mountains for over 23 years now. And we naturally have high pH level water. Like if you test it, it's 7.5 4 pH, and it just runs off the mountain. It's actually one of the biggest secrets, best kept secrets about mountain life is that you can go out and take a big water jug, like one of those big water cooler jugs, and literally hold it up to a stream that is glacial ice water, and it just fills up. So 15 years ago, when I first heard of this opportunity from a friend who was getting into it, I was like, oh, why would I need that kind of water? I live in the mountains, and I chose to live here so I can have access to this water. And for a minute, let me just talk about how special it is to drink mountain water and why mountain people like live with this best kept secret is because of that vibration. I had an elder point out to me, a spiritual elder, um, talking about how old that water is that comes down from the glaciers. And she kind of opened my mind to this way of looking at it that just blew me away. She said, that water that used to be ice, that has been ice for maybe 10,000 years or more. And maybe the last time that that water was in liquid form before it thawed out, um, what was when the dinosaurs were on the earth. And the biodiversity was like there was pterodactyls in the sky and stuff. And it was a whole different planet and giant trees and mossy forests and mastodons or woolly mammoths, you name it. So I started to tune into the awakening that comes from drinking living water. I've put a link down in the chat the comments section below, because my wife and I have created a group for anyone who wants to learn more about the water and about the business opportunity, the legacy wealth creation opportunity attached to the water. I didn't know when I made this live, um, this plan to go live, um, if I didn't know what I was going to talk about. Just full disclosure here. I just knew I needed to get on and talk and share some of these things, that are alive in me right now and connect with you and let you know about it. I said I would talk about the difference between coaching and mentoring. One thing I'll say as a caveat is that I don't really like the word coaching. I didn't plan to become a coach. In fact, I didn't even plan to become a therapist, but I just answered the call. I just followed the energy. I followed the enthusiasm in my soul after doing what I needed to do to quit my dead end job and open myself up. So before I get into talking about coaching and mentoring, I just want to say that it doesn't matter what we call it. The important thing is the energy, to follow the energy of where you're called. And if you're called to tune into me, power to you. And if you're called to, quit your job, power to you. But there are ways that you can start with a side hustle and start to create opportunities that will allow you to create a new stream of income. And then you can quit your job when it makes sense to. Uh, so, so I never really liked coaching, and the online coaching game is just so full of fakeness and lies, like people bragging about how they can teach you how to make this much money in no time. And it's full to me of a lot of empty promises and kind of shallow people. There are some beautiful souls too who are called into the mix and who are doing really integral work. But teasing apart the difference between those two types is the real art, is to tune your ear and your eyes and let God bless your day with a daily prayer of just asking for his guidance so that you can have eyes that see and ears that hear the truth that you need to hear. And that's a form of spiritual protection. But let's talk about the difference between coaching, consulting, and mentoring. I like to follow this guy James Kemp, and he just lays it out so nicely, where he says coaching is about asking powerful questions that unlock answers in another person. So that's one definition. And then consulting is when someone comes to me and I actually give them the answers. I say, here's a framework. This is going to solve it. Go after it. So my company, Wholehearted Coaching and Consulting, does both. Like I oscillate between coaching and consulting. Sometimes I have a framework like the Body, Being, Balance, and Business framework, and we're going to grind into that until you see some results. And we're going to do one-on-one calls to unpack whatever you need to unpack and clarify in your decision making. So that's consulting and coaching. It's important to be able to know what you're doing as a facilitator because I also guide these journeys. And that's more of a therapeutic deep dive into your early family of origin stuff, the mommy stuff, the daddy stuff. For men, I guide a journey called father work. And this is probably the core deep time transformation that has been most profound for the people I worked with, and myself included, when I went through the father work journey myself with my own mentors who gave me permission to deliver this journey. And it's basically a deep dive into looking at your relationship with your own dad and clearing up whatever energy's there. All of us are going to get real as men when we start talking about our dads, whether they were there for us or not. Fatherhood is all about this tension between presence and absence. And ultimately, when we go deep, we'll root out beliefs around self-worth that are holding us back, and we'll unlock this unlimited well of blessings, like an unlimited well of worthiness that is we call it your inner king, that inner authority. And so that's part of the therapeutic deep dive. And then there's mentoring. And mentoring is when I might share, like, from my own experience, what's worked or what's not worked, which is really customized. And that's where the real magic happens, because I've been through a divorce, and I ran a therapy business for 4 years. And so I've got stories. And what lights me up the most is story medicine. The right story at the right moment for the right trouble, pain, or problem that you're in. That's the medicinal collision, between myself and the men that I get the privilege to work with in a private conversation. And that's one of the biggest missing pieces for modern men, is a place to go grind out through a raw and real process, through the desperation that they're in. And what's that saying? Most men live lives of quiet desperation. Denial is one of the biggest villains facing modern men. Denial of the problems, denial of the sunk cost, of the indecision, of the uncertainty, of the learned helplessness, and of feeling trapped, feeling imprisoned, but knowing there's a calling on your soul for more, knowing that you could be more if you broke up with the lies that hold you back. The way the game works is that I'm a liar, you're a liar. Everybody's a liar because we have to put on these social masks and play a role until that role becomes unbearable. We'll never actually willingly take that mask off, take that armor off, and dig deeper into that soul force. But that soul force of truth is the name of the game, is tell the fucking truth. Even if it's raw, even if it's vulnerable, even if I look like a fool, like a failure, like an embarrassment, like, um, yeah, just, you name it. Uh, so that's what comes in mentoring when this opening happens, um, and men make that commitment. The funny thing is that the more you pay, the more you pay attention. Um, and you can give it away for free. But guess what? No one's going to get transformation. They're just going to look at it because we don't transform because of information. We transform because of experience and relationships. And so that's where the transformational leadership comes in, is that commitment to a container and the commitment to a relationship with a high level of intent. And the intent is to crystallize and clarify your future self. Your future self is your North Star. When you know who you are wanting to become, then you can reverse engineer your decision making in the here and now so that you call that man towards you. I'm not the man that I was 5 years ago. I'm not the man that I was 1 year ago because I'm on this path. And it's not easy. It's simple when you boil it down to the frameworks, but it's a fucking kick to the dick, I'll tell you that, because you have to go through this ego death constantly. You have to constantly be willing to reinvest in yourself, recommit to a process of keeping your eye on the prize. And even when the world is in uncertainty and chaos, you have to stand strong in who you are and your discipline. Um, which brings me back to this question of identity. We talk about the future self. The future self. This framework comes from strategic coach and Ben Hardy. Um, but I want to talk for a moment about what do I even mean by identity, and your I am. Your I am is what gets your house in order. That statement, I am. Whatever you attach I am to. If you say I am broke or I am uh, struggling or I am in need, then you're just going to reaffirm that. I am is the most powerful affirmation in the game. And so Ben Hardy has this beautiful framework of boiling down the question of identity to two things. One, your commitments. Like, I am what I'm committed to. I'm not my goals, my dreams, my aspirations. I am what I'm committed to today. And yes, the commitments today could be connected to my North Star, to my future self. But more often than not, we fall asleep because human beings are great forgetters. And we're here to wake each other up. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help wake you up. And I've got people in my ecosystem whose their job is to wake me up. It's all about awakening. So there's the first thing is commitment. Like, what am I committed to? Because that's what you show up for in your bank account, in your physical body, in your relationships, and in your connection with the voice of God within you. Those four domains. The second piece of identity in your I am is your standards. And this is where transformational leadership comes into focus again, because your standards are set around like your thermostat of how much love, success, fulfillment, money, freedom, health, how much are you allowing yourself to have? And is there a ceiling? Like, what's the ceiling at? Um, and in order to transform, really truly transform your reality, not just a cool thought or, you know, disconnected fantasy or fiction, but in the facts of your reality, the way that you transform is you raise your standards and you refuse to tolerate what you have previously tolerated, which is your old standards. And we bump up as we hit our ceiling with what Gay Hendricks calls your upper limit problem. Your upper limit problem is that, well, I've never known a greater level of success or fulfillment, or I never knew it was possible to make $100,000 in a month. I didn't even have a business plan to do that. Well, I have a business plan for you, and that's entirely possible. And that's one of my targets, realistic target that I'm going to hit. My wife and I are going to hit that. So all the solutions are here. We live in the information age. But what's priceless is transformation, because information doesn't transform people, relationships do. Relationships and experience. So the game of raising your standards, sorry, I just got to get my power bar because I'm running out of battery. Raising your standards can happen in a way where your old ceiling becomes your new floor. And now there's a whole other space for you to grow into, to expand in your sphere of influence and build your kingdoms, body, being, balance, and business. I never thought that I would be working out every day. I was lucky. I used to be an athlete in my early days. I played competitive hockey when I was 20. And I thought, well, I'm an athlete. And I was pretty lean, you know, tall guy, 6 feet. And I never had to work out. But then something happened in my 30s. I started to get chronic lower back issues. And then I started to get the dad bod when I started to have kids, had kids late. And so it wasn't part of my self-concept to go to the gym. I was a tree planter in my 20s. So we would be so fit and strong because we'd be climbing up and down the mountains with 300 baby tree seedlings on our hips and slamming our shovel into the ground. And we were more ripped than anybody. We were spending the entire day under the sun on the side of the mountain, living like kings, drinking mountain water. So I had this experience of vitality in my body that I took for granted. And then when dad bod time hit, and in your 40s, your muscles will atrophy if you don't take care of them. They will start to use it or lose it. And so my mentor, who I first started investing with, Geeta, she was so committed to working out every day. And she's actually, I think she's the same age as me, late 40s now. And so I saw and I put myself in relationship with someone who was working out every day. And now I can't imagine a life without it. And now I also see that all of my success and all of the breakthroughs I've had in raising my ceiling of belief around what's possible, all of that has come from my commitment to my fitness and body. Because that's where all the epiphanies and the revelations come home. In my book, I talk about the body as the gym is it's like my church, because it's where a lot of the somatic transformation happens, and I get to come home to that transformation. Just switching gears here, and I'm going to put my laptop closer to the power source. So, identity being made up of commitments and standards. These two things, right? These two forces. And so that's what I hope you're taking away from this is an examination of what are your standards, around what you have in your bank account, your standards around how much you're willing to invest in financial literacy, mentorship, um, business. Even if you're not a business person, even if you're an employee and you think business is foreign to you, like I used to, uh, I challenge all of my people to start looking at your whole life as a business, because a business is just money coming in and money going out. There's profit, there's loss, there's net worth, there's all these concepts, and you'll really never come into the possibility of financial freedom unless you get in the game of investing in yourself and looking at your relationship with money um, in a new way and following the principles of success that have been laid out. You know, they're all right there. Um, but in order to implement them, you need to be around action takers. You need to be around people in the game who are living the transformation, the 10x transformation. It's not about hustling harder or working harder for twice as much. That's an ego trap of feeling stuck in who I think I am. It's ultimately about a leveraged opportunity to grow, you know? And for most men won't actually unlock their true value and contribution to society until, you know, sometime between 40 and 65, or maybe like 45 to 65. So if you're hearing this and if you're feeling stuck, if I could talk to my past self, one of the things I would say is don't wait, invest sooner. I didn't start investing in myself until late in the game. I had kids late. Um, but get a mentor. It doesn't have to be me. Join a mastermind. Get into a program. Follow your heart, and you can have it all. That's what I remind to the men. You can have a tribe, and you can be connected to men who are raising their game, raising their standards, and walking a path of a warrior and a king in a world where most people are okay with slavery. Most people are just accepting things as they are. I've never been good at accepting the way the world is. And I just love seeing transformation in the people who get to be in my ecosystem and who I get the privilege of working with. So thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking with this conversation. Thanks for being here. If you're someone who is interested in this magical water, this Kangen water opportunity, there is a fast action opportunity that is new, that's never happened before. Um, that if you took action with me and wanted to get into it, you could get up to $2,000 USD back in your pocket, just for taking action before the end of December, or sorry, January, before Friday, and today's Wednesday. Uh, so I thought I'd mention that if you've heard of Kangen before and you've wondered about it, because of social media, the game of being a Kangen distributor has completely changed, and it's so much easier now to sell products and services that you believe in and that you know on the deepest level are helping change lives for the better. It's so much easier thanks to these algorithms, these platforms like Facebook, because we're not confined by the old limits of the marketplace. The marketplace now is a million clicks. It's hundreds of thousands of clicks when you start using and leveraging the social media and investing in ads and experimenting and really seeing how it all could work. It's the most exciting time. Um, I think we really are in the beginning of a golden age. And uh, what is it? Is it Dean Graziosi who I heard him say this? He said that the biggest growing economy in the Western world right now used to be like industries, right? It was manufacturing and extraction industries, but those are mostly been offshored. And in the West, the greatest growing sector is the information sector. The education, online education is the new um, place where I think our society is evolving through the marketplace. It's like people aren't enrolling in traditional colleges and universities. People are learning about business and how to live life on their own terms so they can enjoy the good things in life, all the good things in life. And that's um, why we chose to homeschool and keep our kids close and uh, really transform um, through wealth creation and self-investment and living in this warrior's way inside of my Alive on Purpose coaching program for men. The focus has been on marriage mastery, and yet there's so much more to that. The focus really is on transformational leadership and being the man and leading yourself so that you can lead your wife and covering your family with confidence and certainty, uh, with your presence financially and your actual time freedom. That's the real gold. Because when we talk about freedom or financial freedom, I think the real gold is being able to do what you want, whenever you want, with who you want, and to go where you want. Like, let's define freedom for a minute. And at the end of the day, that's the biggest win is to have your time, which is actually more valuable than the money. But we need to look at leverage ways of playing the game of money in order to liberate the time freedom that will allow for human flourishing. So thank you for taking the time to tune in with me. And I'm gonna wrap up this live, and if you want to follow up, you can join the Living Water Legacy Wealth group. That's that Siri and I have started on Facebook, and we're going to be dropping more resources in there around the water and also around the opportunity for people who want financial freedom and health, both health and wealth, and living purposefully like that. So thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for being in my ecosystem. Get out there and enjoy the sunshine, my friend. Bye for now.